The Death of the Sun. October 23rd, 1997. A rose-tinted firmament was the hearse of the sun. Amidst pale clouds, the ever-glowing star blessed humanity for the last time. His brief ascent to the rooftop preceded the descent of Aya. Hidden in the growing shadows, he came to embrace the evening, an eager newborn. In his hands, handwritten letters of old companions told him pieces of news he delightfully read with all that was left of his heart. After a couple of minutes, Celine could be seen as a diamond adorning the night sky. He gave it a last glimpse and went downstairs. Sat at his desk, he started reading the last letters on the pile, attending to every detail. Lit by candlelight were the words, Mon cher, est-ce que ça fait longtemps? J'imagine que tu dois avoir une belle raison pour me faire quitter la ville des l'hideuse lumière. Tu sais bien que nous devons rester chez nous, comme pour les chats. Ça nous fait du mal quitter notre environ, où nous sommes si habitués aux circonstances et idiosyncrasies. Crois pas que l'idée ne me plaît pas. C'est juste que je me souviens pas de la dernière fois que tu m'as invité à te fréquenter. Est-ce que tout va bien? Tu n'as rien dit de concret dans tes lettres. J'arrive, j'espère d'être accueilli par toi et tes fins vains. Cedo. With a smile, he folded the letter. A distant odor revealed him the coming of the first guest, for there were many to come. They could wait in the hall, where they could find rest and wine, everything one could ask for. The penultimate letter was opened by the slender fingers. Mein Herr, so lange habe ich Ihre Einladung gewartet. Ich habe selbst keine Idee, wann war unsere letzte Versammlung. Vielleicht 830? Aber das ist nicht wichtig. Sie weisen sicher von meiner Anwesenheit sein können. Ich hoffe, alles gut bei Ihnen geht. Ich bringe ein Geschenk für Sie. Killian. Killian, as thoughtful as a mother would be. The last letter was to be opened, while a handful of guests talked their elbows off, probably trying to sort out what the meeting was about. He pensado que te lo había dicho de no me molestar. Si no consigues salir de tus propios problemas, no tengo nada que ver. Tus amiguitos te ayudarán. Reniel was certainly the most ill-tempered of them all. Had he not saved him that one time in Ibiza? What strange creatures are we? He thought to himself. We're no wiser than the irrational animals we prey upon. He walked up to the door, heading to join those who waited. In the hall, a group of no more than 10 individuals waited whilst talking and drinking from Bavarian crystal glasses, all hushed at his sight, following him with their eyes as he came downstairs. His figure was outstanding, being capable of driving our eyes away from the marvelous paintings adorning the walls. He walked to the center of the room, inspecting us to the number of guests. He wished not to speak before they had all arrived. Are we all here? He asked his assistant, Lindor. Ja, jag tog mig friten att förbättra festen, Lindorm said, not looking him in the eye. I thank you. So, I assume you all have dined, haven't you? All nodded, making it clear through their facial gestures they had had plenty. So, I shall bid you all to accompany me to the master room. They all followed him to the room next door, so vast they could run for solid minutes before encountering a wall. All around the room, hundreds of paintings whose copies have been exposed in museums of ages, golden chandeliers, musical instruments. Back in the room, an enormous wall was the dwelling place of a rather big version of Le Lever du Soleil by Monet, right above an altar. At the center, there was a long and rather narrow table, hidden behind a curtain. Everyone looked at each other, confused by that secret. He stood up in the altar, looking gravely in their eyes for a couple of seconds, and said, I knew you'd come. You always do. Would you mind joining me? Pero soy un imbécil, sabías que me molestaría, he said, walking to the altar. ¿Tú qué quieres? I want to tell something, he said, walking farther from the altar, toward what they all thought was a carpet on the wall. Gentlemen, this is the day we may die. And Dracula pulled the curtain, bathing the altar in sunlight. »31. Dezember 889. Mein Herr, unsere Rasse ist unglaublich einzigartig. Und ich meine nicht, dass es etwas Gutes ist. Wir haben ein paar Eigenschaften, die manchmal uns stärker machen. Manchmal Leben ist unmöglich. Aber ich habe es gefunden, dass die interessanteste kann eine Lüge sein. Vor ein paar Jahren habe ich in Frankreich gewohnt. Hier, Leute sind fasziniert mit etwas heißt Kino. Offenbar, jetzt kann man Bilder bewegen. Ich schwöre Sie, alles ich sage, hat ein Teil. Die Frage ist, dass Sie machen kurze Geschichten mit diesen Bildern. Etwa sie heißen Filmen. Und es gibt eins, heißt Sonnenaufgang. Ich bin sicher, Sie wissen gerade, was ich meine und müssen nicht es glauben. Doch, ich schwöre Sie, sie war dort. Finden Sie diesen Film, Sie werden Frieden auch finden. Killen. Le 25 novembre 1997. Ma chère Our, est-ce que ces derniers semaines furent folles? Tu vas probablement me croire pas, mais ça me donne égal. Je fais que reporter l'info. Dracula nous a invités pour dîner, mais c'était pas comme auparavant. Il m'envoya, enfin, pour tous les présents, des lettres énigmatiques au sujet de cette réunion inattendue. Pourtant, cette Dracula, nous savions déjà que nous pourrions compter avec des balles, des vents. Il avait un gosse à peine 21 ans, un avantage si fin. Elle n'est avec du vent. Il est venu après des heures, nous laissant tout seuls dans ce salon énorme. Après ça, il nous invita à passer une salle où il avait une table géante couverte par un rideau. Rainiel est allé au front de la salle, où Dracula fait exposer le soleil en ouvrant la fenêtre. Mais rien ne se produit. Nous étions plus qu'abasourdis par l'audacieux conte, mais aussi par le fait que le soleil n'a rien fait à Rainiel. Puis Dracula va jusqu'à la table et quitta le rideau, où on voit un cadavre là-dessus. Donc il dit: Do you gentlemen recognize this abhorrent face? Personne ne lui répond. This is Lanopo, one of South America's greatest of our kind. No one? They're getting careless. Many scientists and experts, myself included, have studied his death for decades. Nothing yet? Il nous regarda tout, mais on était trop nuls en matière de notre propre histoire. He was the first vampire to have been actually killed by sunlight. Sa main touche le visage du cadavre, qui semblait créer même l'au-delà. Et me perturbé par cette vision, ce qui me perturbait encore plus était l'aisance de Dracula. We know we must be careful at all times, must be aware of our surroundings and how long we stay out, knowing how long it takes to return to our abode. Lanapo, however, did not. He was sloppy. He attacked randomly and recklessly, to the point of being spotted, persecuted, chased long enough to be forced out of the town he resided. He found himself in a field, miles away from a shadow, just after sunrise. No wonder he got weak enough to be physically assaulted. Are you following me? On était tous d'accord. But what you may have missed is this last part. Il désignait la cage thoracique du cadavre. His body was never weak enough. His mind was. He thought he was to die because the sun was already up, but it means no harm to our kind. She is no more harmful to us than she is to humans. What killed this numbskull, il mit son doigt dans le trou, was no more than his stupidity. And an arrow to the heart, of course. Nous étions tout mesmérisés par ce qu'il venait de nous dire. Des siècles nous dépassaient, et on apprenait ça aux limites d'un nouveau. Ça nous faisait penser à nos autres limitations, nous impulsionnant à bien douter nos capacités. Tout d'un coup, on a compris. C'est deux. October 23rd, 1997. Do you understand what this means? Dracula said, to which no one answered. Immersed in their realization, their brains struggled to absorb that which they had just been showed. He left them behind in the hall, where they just stared at the ground, processing all that. He took a glass of wine Lindorm offered him, and headed to the stairs. Breathing heavily, he continued to walk up, step by step, to the rooftop. When the great door was right in front of him, he exhaled gravely. If he was wrong, what have I to lose? He thought to himself. This seemed to give him some strength. Firmly, he held the handle and opened the door. With his eyes closed, he felt the warmth of Aya embrace him with all her love. He sipped some of the delicate and young wine before beholding the dawn. "Good morning, darling," he said, smiling to the light shining over a world about to die.